Hey guys, my name is Ben Carruthers. I'm in Research 210. I'm going to be walking you guys through kind of the summary of my topic today and my research. My opening topic is net neutrality. And like I said, going over research in the summary. So let's get started. So as I said, my topic is net neutrality, and I guess a brief description of what that is would be useful. So net neutrality is a hot topic right now, and what it kind of looks at is how internet service providers treat internet traffic and whether they should be able to charge companies like Netflix more money for accessing their content. I kind of break it down into bandwidth requirements and how it affects the consumer in the end, or who's going to end up paying for it, whichever way we decide to go. So let's start looking at some of the research. Alright, so I want to show you guys my thesis real quick. The thesis is, net neutrality is a hard-to-understand topic that will affect the vast majority of consumers and businesses. It is a battle between the providers, the consumers, and the middlemen. So in my paper, I want to focus on the question, should some groups pay more for internet services than others, and given current information, who gains and who really loses with net neutrality? So through my research, that came up a lot, the last part there, who gains and who loses with net neutrality. I mean, a lot of my paper is going to be looking at the pricing and more of an economic approach to the question, but it also, with that economic approach, we can see, is it actually worth it for internet service providers to, go through with this net neutrality thing, throttling speeds, charging consumers more, upgrading their hardware, that kind of stuff. Alright, so getting into the actual how-to of my research here. Well, like most people, as soon as I get a topic, I hop on a Google. First thing you search is, of course, the name of your topic, or in my case, net neutrality. So I'll start, very, very broad net neutrality until I kind of get a general understanding of the topic, what it's about, and kind of the public opinion of it. And then from there, I come up with my own list of questions, and that's how I do a lot of my work. Is I get questions. If I don't know it, I should probably present it in my paper, and then you get questions, you build more questions. So, for example, my starting keywords were net neutrality, and then I built that into net neutrality economics. Another one, net neutrality internet service providers. And so those are the really broad catch-alls that kind of lead into. So as I was saying, those are the really broad kind of, catch-all terms that lead into the rest of your paper. And I'll take those big topics and I'll break them down based on what I find into smaller and smaller topics. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is CERN. And CERN is my favorite research tool. It's kind of like our UWM library search. It's the Social Science and Research Network, and what it is it's a collaboration of university publications, scholarly articles from all over the place for free. So whenever I start up a new research topic, I'll go there first, and I'll throw in some of my keywords, and that spits back results. And you can change the time frame. Like I like to use everything within the last 3 years. Consider that relevant. So you take those, and there are some really, really long papers, and that's okay though. You read through the papers, pick out what you like, and I save them all for later. The other nice thing about CERN is that it shows you what's out there already, what's already been researched on your topic, which, as we're writing a research paper, your goal is to gather what there already is out there. Have your 20, 30 sources of relevant information, and your job is to build something new with research we already have by adding your own information to it. That's what research is. So the next section we have here is the annotated bibliography. After you do all your research, put everything together. I'm sure we've all done this by now. How I actually do mine is, in a sense, a mess. When I'm reading through, anytime I find a source or anything I find interesting, I'll read through the entire paper. I'll make a PDF copy of it, and I'll highlight anything that I want to look through when I go back through it. So I do that with I think for this one we had like 20, 25 sources. Take the sources and I'll read through them again. And then with annotated bibliography, you put those together and you do brief summaries of each one. In those summaries, I'll highlight things again that I'm actually going to, this is useful. I want to put this in the paper. We need this. So that's the yellow highlighting I'll do on my big list of sources and all their summaries. The next part that I have below that is this kind of like a blue text at the very bottom. And the point of my blue text are to point out my questions. So if I'm reading a source and I get a question, I'll go back and I'll think, all right, so I had a question about this. Somebody else is going to have a question about this. Is this question important enough that I need to go back? I need to find some more research. And that's how I get a lot of new sources. If I have more questions, like I said, I research it, I add that, and a lot of the times it keeps going. More questions, and it's kind of up to me to determine, what do I put in the paper in the end. So, then I get this big annotated bibliography. It has all of my notes and everything. It'd probably be impossible for somebody else to sort their way through, but it works for me. A lot of loose thoughts floating around that in the end, I can scroll through real fast. Oh, this is what I wanted from this guy's paper. Oh, this is what I wanted, from this source. And then in the end, put them all together. I decided to include an example in case that last part wasn't very clear. So as you can see, this is one of my sources that I found open internet, and it was from the FCC website. And that yellow text there, I write, I conclude and draw a connection between the ruling of inhibiting network growth and that of Shubuhodai and Hong. So that for me is a note that, okay, in my paper, I want to draw a conclusion and connect all these guys' thoughts because they all have similar thoughts. And I get that by going back through all my other sources. That other short tidbit there, my thought, maybe I should include what the FCC is to my readers in case they don't know what that is. Probably useful to know. Then at the bottom there, we have my blue text. And the blue text is other questions. When did the new idea of net neutrality start? So I actually took that one and I decided, I should probably include a real brief history in the beginning of the paper. The background info, that's kind of the category it falls into. And competitiveness, maybe that's a new category. I don't know. They're my running notes on the fly that I make. Okay, so here is my outline. And what your outline really is for me at least, going back through all those random thoughts and notes that I made in my annotated bibliography, bringing up sources that I forgot, looking all through them, and putting them on a map. And that's kind of what my outline is. It's a map. It takes me through and helps me remember what I'm actually want to write in the paper. And I'll put everything on there, and then I'll reorganize it in an order that hopefully in the end will make sense to the reader. I know at this point we're supposed to have our final outline, but I know as soon as I start writing the paper, your outline changes. You're going to start writing something and you go, oh, you know what? I should probably include this here, or you know what? This really doesn't fit in the paper. I'm going to take this out. But I have the three, you have your 3 steps, your intro, your body, and then I always add in your main body, and then your conclusion. So I'll try to walk you through those real quick. The intro. So for the intro, we have introduce research question thesis. What is net neutrality? Net neutrality, and I break it down into really simple terms, or I try to break it down into simple terms for everybody to understand it. Because I've read papers where you don't understand what they're saying, and at that point it's just like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I don't know what you're saying, but you're saying something. So I want to make it in terms that everybody can easily understand. The next big part there is who will be affected. So that ties into my thesis. And the who will be affected is important to the audience because your audience needs to be connected to what they're reading. If they're not connected, they don't care. And of course, at the end of the intro, you lead into your main points, kind of a transition or this is what's going to be in the paper. Right, the next section we have here is the body. So your body is your meat. you take those main points that you put in your thesis in your intro, and you really break them down. You pick, a main topic for each topic, and break it down into smaller topics. So I have explained the FCC. So that's going to be more of a background. That's a starter info. What is the FCC? And then we start getting into ramping up the sides of net neutrality. Internet service providers, consumers, who's the middleman, how do we look at it, a brief history of net neutrality. That, once again, is going to be more introductory. I'll include a great example I found, cable company versus electric, so introductory. And then we get into some other bigger topics, network throttling and shaping. Short economics, so this is where I start to break into economics. I love economics. I have a bit of an economics background, so a lot of it will be looking at the economics. And then let's go over to the next slide. So another thing I noticed while I was kind of going through here is I have this whole section about other countries' internet laws and speeds. And I put it in my outline because I thought it was interesting, and it would be a lot of supporting information in my paper. It's not a real main topic, but it's something that I can look at in the paper. So, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I wanted to look at, how do the other countries that aren't in the same situation as us compare? What are they doing differently? So it's kind of just getting a broad research, really knowing what else is going on with the topic. Alright, so continue with the body. I have here the grand debate network growth. And now what that is, this is probably going to be quite a few pages on its own, going over, this is comparing all the economics data of kind of my scholarly sources, my scholarly authors, and really connecting them all. How do they relate to each other? What are they saying? So I have the FCC versus Chang, Pietz, Martin, Truitt, and Singer. And, you'll put them against each other. Oh, here's what he says, here's what he says, and I'll really analyze what's going on with them. And of course, I'll include the other authors in there, and then, your supporting information, current day news articles. Does it back up what they're saying? Does it not? Or did they look at it like this? Are they leaving out this information that this guy put up there? And from there, you really just try to make sense of it all. And the last section we have here is the conclusion. So that's where you make sense of everything you just said. You're bringing everything together. In simple terms, this is what we learned. So you really don't want to add any new information here. So I summarize what I just said, the big debate. Any trailing questions, I suppose I might ask. But, you restate the importance, go back over your thesis, and at the end, you kind of give your opinion. Well, I think, based on all this information, this is how it should go. This is what we should do with net neutrality. So I know this wasn't really part of the assignment, but I figured I'd throw it in here anyways, a quick reflection of this assignment. I don't know if I sounded nervous or not, but I really don't like doing audio recordings over the computer. I actually give meeting presentations on a daily basis at work, project engineering, and I like that so much better actually face-to-face talking with people than recording and listening to myself. I probably did a lot of these 4 or 5 times in a row, and I just went with it because I didn't know what to say anymore. So let me know what you guys thought of the assignment if you'd like on the group discussion page. That'd be great. Yeah, thanks.